All right, so tonight we are going to review the second bottle. It's a little bit smaller, but still greatly appreciated from Barrell. It is the Barrell Rye. So this is only the fourth time they have released a rye in their lineup. It is a
Since
blend.
2020.
Yeah. Oh, what?
First time since 2020.
Oh, since 2020. I got you. You did your research. I didn't. Good to know. So this is distilled in Kentucky, Indiana, Tennessee, and Canada. So we are going to another country. It has 10-year-old Indiana rye barrels that have notes of brown sugar and a touch of smoke. 5- and 6-year-old barrels layered for fruit and spice character. 4-year-old Canadian barrels that were added for their dry herbal notes. The result is a fruit-forward rye with layers of depth.
Now, you said 4-year-old Canadian. That's 14-year-old Canadian.
14-year-old, sorry. And if you know anything about them, I am super excited, not for this, though I am excited to try it. They are coming out with a rye finished lineup. And apparently, if you can find it, I have been told their rye finished in Armagnac barrels is just going to be the bomb. So keep an eye out. They are pumping out their rye line, starting with this batch 4.
TJ gets his marketing from Boys to Men.
What?
It's going to be the bomb.
Oh,
there's nothing wrong with Boys to Men.
Yeah,
nothing.
1990s. Here we go.
I've been following a lot of 90s on the Instagram stuff, and it brings back great memories.
I think it's going to be fantastic. No cap or something like that. Whatever the. Yeah, I don't know. I can't speak this language either.
Yeah,
so
you're not as good. So
making his
debut,
Power Bourbon debut,
Scott.
I'm one of the neighbors here.
Not a friend, but a neighbor.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I was
made very aware of that.
To be fair, I don't really claim Chuck as a friend, just a neighbor also, and I live in a different state.
I'm just happy to hear somebody else calls him Chuck. I call him CCMF.
We can't. That's not. That's Patreon only content. There.
Oh, this could be interesting. All right, so on the nose, it is totally a rye. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's right. I mean, to me, it's citrusy. Yeah, it's citrus spearmint.
No hay. I guess now that I'm going in for my third whiff, I get a little bit of hay on the very, very back end, but it's nowhere near the predominant note.
I get lemon and mint.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are a lot more fancier with your terminology than I am. You can tell it's a rye right out the gate.
How does it compare?
Now that you said the mint,
the Willet.
Oh, the Willet. Mm-hmm. No, that's unsweet tea. Willet tastes like unsweet tea. That is the rye-est rye I've ever had.
So tame down. I would agree with this. So it's getting some of that, like it's blended from Kentucky and Indiana, not just all Indiana 95.5.
Right.
Which
if you've watched channel at all, you know Chuck hates 95.5. He prefers the 51 Kentucky style.
Closer you can get to bourbon. That's my preference.
So.
But this gives you that nice blend. Honestly, it's gives you that lemon tea, minty.
So it is 115.7 proof, so it's up there. But it does not drink high proof.
I wouldn't have got that.
No. I go about 105. It's kind of what I'm tasting. It's good. Sorry, Scott.
One of those ryes
I took your tasting notes.
It's one of those ryes that if you're that guy that's like, oh, I don't drink ryes, I don't like those. Well, and then you try this, that's not super over the top.
No,
it's really good.
None of the dill pickle.
Yeah. Or the deep unsweet tea.
No.
Oh.
What's wrong with unsweet tea? I drink unsweet tea.
I mean, that's my go-to at the restaurants. I'm just saying that's probably not what you're looking for if you're going for a glass of bourbon.
Maybe.
Unless you really, really, really like rye. But it's got enough rye flavor that you know it's a rye, but it's not one of those. It's so overpowering that's going to turn you off from them.
Yeah, it's on the palate. It is lemon, honey, and then it finishes off in a nice, slight herbal. I'm going to almost go tea, but there's just that like little hint of hay or straw coming in at the finish. But it is, not like super rye at all.
This is, I mean, for a rye, this is earlier. I gave Scott Rare Breed Rye, which is one of my favorite ryes, and this particular barrel batch 4, I think, builds on top of that. If I were to compare it to some very expensive rye, so I'd like to compare it to Kentucky Owl rye, which comes in more than 2x the price. I think this really blends. They're masters of blenders, and this blends nicely what you love, or what I love about Kentucky ryes, which is the lack of that overly herbal dill pickle notes, but it still gives you a little bit of that rye spice, that menthol, that citrusy, those citrusy characteristics, with that like kind of tamed down Kentucky rye aspect. And this does it beautifully. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, as a rye, I'd buy this. So maybe that's the reason they've taken 3 years since their last release. They were just waiting until it was right. But as a bourbon drinker generally, I would buy this and be very happy with this on my shelf.
Yeah, that's where I am. Is I think this is, so we always talk about, we are bourbon drinkers, and how do you get into other spirits or other categories? I think this is that perfect, you want to slowly get into ryes, here you go. This will kind of get you into that a little bit, because it's just a little hint of the rye notes and not overpowering at all, but it's got more of an oomph than the Rare Breed Rye does.
For sure.
So, yeah, I can say my sample vial is empty, but there will be one on my shelf in the near future.
Ours will be empty. We're just going to finish this.
Say, I shared mine with my wife, who's over there watching me, making sure I don't go crazy.
I mean, if I'm here, I think your wife should be on here as well.
Where's Heather? Although she participates often on the channel, so.
She, unlike me, has standards on how she should look in front of the camera. I'm just like,
no,
standards not going to matter.
Not Illinois basketball hoodie
areas, but the clothes that she wears.
I already got the one to say yes. I don't care what other people think anymore. We're good.
There's no doubt that this is a rye, which sometimes like you're like, oh, as long as if it's a rye that tastes like a bourbon, I'll be happy. This tastes like a rye. Yeah. But I like the citrus component. It still gives you, to me, it doesn't take the rye notes too far, which is what I dislike about those Indiana 95.5s. So yeah, I'm a fan. Right. I think what you said about the Rare Breed, it's like a toned, like just ratcheted up Rare Breed. I think that's fair. So I'm going to buy, and I'm going to buy even if you're on the fence on ryes. So there we go. Scott, what do you think?
Well, I have a lot of friends that won't even drink ryes because they're rye. No other reason other than they may have had a bad experience with something that was a little bit over the top, like the Willet you gave me for my birthday.
Sorry.
But this would be a good, if you have a friend that says that they don't like it, let me pour you one of these and we'll go from there. This is something that you could dip your toe in, and if you liked it, go from there. It's not crazy over the top rye. You know it's a rye, but it's not one of those like that Willet double. Holy my Lord. Like
a lot of dill pickle, a lot of
I appreciate that because I like even when I'm a bourbon drinker, I like the ones that are finished in a sherry cask or a cognac cask. I like those one-offs. So the ryes, especially something like this, that gives me a little bit more, but is not crazy over the top. This is right in my wheelhouse. I would buy this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if I had another friend that was into bourbon and was, oh, I hate ryes, well, try this one and see what you think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
So with that, Barrell, thank you so much for sending us the sample. So be on the lookout. Barrell batch 4 of rye should be going there. And all I got to say is if this is what they put in an Armagnac of barrels, I will be looking for that really, really hard because I am sure it's amazing. And they are doing a ton of finished rye things coming up here. So be on the lookout. But once again, Barrell blended something absolutely amazing. And I would also argue something that your average drinker can enjoy and appreciate without being super sophisticated. So with that, cheers, and we'll see you next time.
Any